ByAnnie's Stiletto impressing tool makes it easy to attach bindings because it holds everything in place and keeps things from moving it around. One of the best tips that I can share with you for making beautiful bindings is to not press your binding in half, fold your binding in half and press that seam. Because when you press that seam and you sew your binding in place, a lot of times when it comes over to the other side, it doesn't fold exactly in the same places and you end up with puckers and creases. So what I do is I take my binding, fold it in half right sides out, and put a pin every few inches to hold all the layers together. I want to make sure that these raw edges are really nicely aligned and my piece is nice and straight. But I don't press it at all with my machine. Then I'm going to take my pocket, and in this case we're going to bind a vinyl pocket, but this would be exactly the same process if you had a piece of quilted fabric here. I'm going to line my binding up so that it matches right with the edge, slide it under my needle, and get ready to stitch. Again, the stiletto is helpful because I can move things, I can hold things in place. There's a lot of things to hold on to when you're doing this, and it's just nice having an extra finger in there where you can put things where you want them. With vinyl, it's a little bit harder to see where your edge is. Sometimes I use the stiletto to go right up next to the edge so I can tell where it is, and then I line things up and finish stitching. After my binding is sewn to the reverse side, I'm going to turn the binding around to the front, and I'm going to pin or clip that in place. The secret on this is to sew right along the very edge of the binding, the folded edge of the binding, and I want to make sure that it's covering the line of stitching from before. So I can take my binding and hold it in place just so it's just past that line of stitching. And I've got a beautiful binding with nice even stitching on the front. Let's see how it looks on the back. It should be right along the other line of stitching, and that looks really good there as well. It's right along the very edge of my binding on the back. Beautiful.